So today we have Dr. Sauradipta Chandra, a senior consultant physician. He is an alumnus of Calcutta National Medical College and has over 14 years of experience in the medical field. He has also worked with COVID-19 patients and has in-depth knowledge of the virus, which has made him a name to reckon in the medical fraternity. Today he's going to tell us about how to prepare ourselves for flu season as monsoons retreat. Thank you, Dr. Chandra, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So I just have a few questions. My first question being, what should people do to keep themselves safe from viral fevers other than COVID?
Okay. So firstly, before we go into it, we need to understand the common viral fevers, not just viral, in fact, the common viral and bacterial fevers that would be around in this stage, particularly with the weather being in the monsoons, etc. So apart from COVID, as you probably well know, dengue is one of the commonest infections, viral disease, which is going all over the place. There's dengue, there's malaria, there's chikungunya, there's typhoid, and there's of course the common cold or the common flu. Okay. Out of the ones which I just mentioned, the first three, that's dengue, chikungunya, and malaria, are all mosquito borne. Whereas typhoid is a bacteria, it's Salmonella typhi. It is usually from infected water and infected food. And of course, the common cold is the common flu. That's an airborne virus that's all over the place. All right. So once we understand what are the main diseases which are out there, we need to get into the symptoms and then we need to get into the preventive measures. So firstly, one needs to understand what exactly it is that you have. I can understand that the moment somebody gets fever, body aches, etc., you always think COVID because of the current situation and what we've been through in the past couple of months, rather the past couple of years. So apart from COVID, one also needs to keep in mind that these symptoms and signs could mean something else. It could mean dengue, malaria, chikungunya. So the moment you have fever, body aches, chills, rigors, diarrhea, and any other symptoms like rashes, etc., don't hesitate to get yourself tested for other infectious diseases. Speak to your doctor, and your doctor will guide you accordingly on what are the tests that you need to do. For example, a dengue NS1 antigen test for dengue, a malarial antigen for malaria, a Vidal test or a blood culture test for typhoid, a chikungunya for chikungunya, you can do a blood test. There are multiple other tests. Your doctor will guide you accordingly. So definitely get tested early so that your doctor can figure out that an early diagnosis and treat you accordingly. Now, apart from this, now that we know these are the main diseases which are out there, let's focus on steps to prevent this from happening. The most crucial step that we all follow is, of course, maintaining hygiene. Maintain proper hygiene wherever it is that you are. I think COVID has taught us all to be absolutely clean, to maintain our surroundings clean. So it's very, very crucial to keep your surroundings clean, particularly when we talk about dengue, malaria, chikungunya. Remember, these are mosquito-borne diseases, so it is crucial to avoid mosquitoes. Mosquitoes usually harbor, they lay eggs on stagnant water. So it is crucial to not allow stagnant water in your vicinity, in your nearby areas, wherever you live, wherever your family members are in your neighborhood. Try cleaning out as much stagnant water as possible. There are certain places which you may not be able to clean, some on the roadside, etc., which it's the department of your MCDs, etc., your municipal corporations, they would be the ones cleaning this area. If you can't clean it, one of the commonest ways to get rid of mosquito larvae or mosquito eggs, which are laid on water like this or stagnant water like this, is to actually drop a little bit of kerosene oil over the water. Okay, the kerosene oil actually forms a light film over the stagnant water, which prevents mosquitoes from laying their eggs on that water. So you're actually safe there. Okay. So one common method of getting rid of stagnant water or mosquitoes on stagnant water, and if you can't clean it, pour a little bit of kerosene oil, of course, carefully, and a thin film is formed out there that will make sure that the mosquitoes don't lay eggs out there. Now, the second thing that you do is please use mosquito coils, anti-mosquito repellents, etc. All of these judiciously. They do work, particularly the old-fashioned mosquito coils or mosquito mats, etc. Use them wherever you are. Definitely use them.
Yeah.
Apart from that, if you're going out for a walk, particularly in the evenings, if you go out in the parks, etc., that's one of the commonest places where mosquitoes usually harbor. So try making sure that you are covered fully. So I know it would be difficult, especially if you're going out for a jog, but make sure that your hands, neck, etc., everything is covered and very less body parts are exposed, as less as possible. That would make sure mosquitoes don't bite you and give you a plethora of infections like these. Okay, so this is
Yeah.
in terms of mosquitoes. Now, when it comes to typhoid, typhoid is one of the commonest infections which you get, especially in this weather. Water is tremendously infected these days. Even if you go to one of the best restaurants out there, you're not too sure that the food that you're having out there, or vegetables, if you're having a salad out there, has been washed in tap water. You're not too sure of the quality of the tap water, particularly in Mumbai. You're not too sure where exactly the water is coming from. So it's crucial that avoid. Make sure that you're maintaining your cleanliness. Make sure that the water source that you're having water from is absolutely clean. Okay, and the food that you're having, of course, is either well cooked or it's well washed in a proper source of water to avoid typhoid out there. Okay. Now, when it comes to the common cold, of course, there is no treatment for common cold, as we all know. We all get it. We all suffer from it. It makes us suffer for a few days and it goes away. But the common things that you do, remember what we follow for COVID, you can follow for the common cold as well. It is crucial to make yourself, maintain a social distancing between people. It's crucial to make sure that you're wearing your mask well. Okay. And of course, the most important thing that you could do is to maintain your immunity. We've all learned how to maintain our immunity in the last 2 years, especially with COVID teaching us to do so. So boost your immunity up, have your immune boosters in your diet, plenty of fluids, hydration. Hydration is very, very crucial. Fresh water. Have as many immune boosters as possible, naturally, like ginger, garlic, turmeric, almonds, sour fruits, etc. All of these will boost your immunity. So these are a couple of things that you can actually just do to make sure that you boost your immunity to and that you're careful against these couple of viral diseases apart from COVID, particularly this season.
Yeah. Okay. So since a large chunk of the population is now fully vaccinated, how safe is it to go out? Like, what protocols should we follow? I mean, as you said, we haven't noticed like common colds and coughs for the past 1.5 years. At least I haven't, because of masking and social distancing and these immunity boosters that we include in our diet. But
Right.
besides that, what other protocols should we follow? Um, because people might now, because they're vaccinated, be a little ignorant about certain things.
Right. Right.
So
I mean, one should understand that it is definitely crucial to get vaccinated. The vaccination is absolutely helping. However, one also needs to remember that the vaccination is never 100% effective. Okay. There are cases in which people have been vaccinated and they have tested positive for COVID, but it is also very crucial to understand that the vaccination will at least reduce the severity of the disease. It will ensure that your life is not wasted. It will ensure that you will not suffer. The severity of the disease is a lot less in infected in vaccinated people as compared to unvaccinated people. So, irrespective of you being vaccinated, please do not let your guard down. While I understand that COVID fatigue has set in, people are tired. Everybody is tired, including me, of the constant restraints that we have to follow, the constant mask wearing that we have to do. However, one needs to understand that this is what is actually saving us. So, irrespective of you being vaccinated, just make sure that you're wearing your mask properly.
hmm,
Apart from that, you're trying to maintain social distancing as and when possible. So, particularly in public places, a 6 feet gap would be really essential. Okay, because you do not know what another person's immune system is, or maybe the other person next to you is an immunocompromised patient, and you may have it. You may be asymptomatic, and you may pass on the infection to someone else whose immune system may not be as strong as yours, and he or she may suffer due to the
yeah.
disease. So, definitely masking.
Is it true that going out can actually boost your immunity and is actually good for you? How do you feel about people home quarantining to an extreme level?
Um, I would now say that the situation is much better, considering the fact that most of us have either suffered from the Delta variety or we have a sort of immunity because of the vaccination. So, right now, stepping out is not a problem. I'm sure everybody is stepping out. I would not, I would essentially not follow the rule where I would say that, okay, going out will actually increase your immunity. No, because we are all at a bit of a risk out there. Okay. However, yes, I mean, exposing yourself to certain allergens make you stronger sometimes. It kind of makes an immune response inside of you and makes you stronger. that cannot be, that the concept of that herd immunity cannot exactly be mentioned for COVID at this moment, because we are really not sure which direction this virus is going in and whether it might replicate further and replicate to something more sinister than the Delta virus. However, extreme home quarantine is also not good. The virus usually replicates within 10 to 12 days and then eventually stops replicating. So after 14 days of home quarantining, after you test positive for COVID, step out. You do not have to repeat the test. You can step out because the virus does stop replicating by then. If you do test positive even after 14 days on the RT-PCR test, remember that the RT-PCR test does not distinguish between the living virus and the dead virus. So there are plenty of false positives after the 14th day. So 14 days of home quarantine is absolutely fine, after which you can step out. Okay. Also, I did want to mention a few more things when it comes to the vaccinated people. So masking and social distancing is fine. However, sanitizing is equally crucial, and also completing your vaccination course on time is equally crucial. Remember, if you delay your vaccination, the second dose to a later date, the first dose may not, it's the role of the second dose is to augment the effect of the first dose, right? The effect, that augmenting effect will not be as strong. So your immunity may not be as strong. So please complete your vaccination on time. Okay. And of course, make sure that your immunity is boosted and hygiene is maintained.
Okay. So how important is double masking? Does it also protect us from other common colds and coughs? I mean, we have noticed that.
Yes. Well, masking, either way, double or single, is protective against the common cold, common cough, and because ideally the role of masking is, of course, for sealing up of the mouth so that droplets do not transfer from one person to the other, because it's droplets through which the common flu as well as the COVID virus also gets transmitted. Okay. However, one needs to understand that at this stage, double masking is usually applied for two reasons. Number one, for proper sealing of the mouth, and number two, for better filtration. Okay, for better filtration in terms of the particles which are passing through the mask, the filtration is better. Okay, so ideally, double masking should be one cloth mask and one surgical mask. Okay, otherwise, if you use strong masks, both of them being extra strong, you may have a breathing issue. Okay, and also at this stage, I'll say double masking for the regular population is really not required, considering the fact that the levels, the number of cases are really, really low. And it's been played to, so it's know that it's not going into a sharp rise. However, two categories of people should ideally wear double mask, who are high risk individuals. Number one, people like us, doctors, nurses, paramedics, etc., lab technicians who are constantly exposed to COVID patients. Ideally, we should be wearing a double mask. And secondly, for patients who are immunocompromised or who have had cancer or who have had an organ transplant or whose immune systems are generally weak, ideally, they would be the ones who would need to wear a mask, double mask. It would be better, especially in public.
What about when traveling?
When traveling, ideally in an aircraft or in a packed train, particularly like in Mumbai, it would be better if you do wear a double mask. However, if I do believe there are certain limits. The trains are not running to full capacity as of now. So maybe a mask and a shield would also be equally effective. A mask and a shield would work well, or a double mask. But like I said, if you're immunocompromised or if you have a past history of chronic illnesses, if you have comorbidities, a double mask is always safe. It ensures firm sealing of the mouth.
Yeah. Are there heightened fears towards other illnesses now, like tuberculosis or hepatitis, etc.? What should we do how should we be more conscious about something like that? Are other viral fevers also airborne?
Okay, so I wouldn't use the word there's a heightened fear, but I would rather use the word rather a bit of a, I use the word that it's not fear, but it's a lot more of an awareness in terms of, other diseases around. So people definitely are aware in terms of, when it comes to other diseases, particularly viral diseases. However, most of the viral diseases which are airborne are mainly the common flu, the common cold, or an H1N1, etc., and they are mostly in control in our population. Okay, when it comes to hepatitis or the other infective diseases like TB, etc., well, yes, TB also is airborne because it's droplet. However, people have understood that immunity is everything. So if you have a strong immune system, our immune system fights off everything around us. There are plenty of viruses and bacteria around us in the air, which are airborne out there. However,
Yeah.
we all have a natural immunity which fights it off. So people are aware, and that is probably causing them to boost their immunity and to be extra careful to wear masks, etc. However, when it comes to hepatitis A, B, C, or when it comes to other viral diseases like this, ideal would be vaccination. So make sure that hepatitis, if you're vaccinated against hepatitis A and B, particularly B, you're also vaccinated against other viral diseases, and that would be more than enough. So I think people are opening up to this because I do get plenty of patients on a daily basis coming in for their vaccinations, coming in for their regular checkup and for immunity boosting tips. So yeah, I think there's definitely a good amount of awareness.
Yeah. So, given the high density of population in Mumbai, what extra protocols should we follow beside the obvious double masking, social distancing? Because everywhere you go, there are so many people. So, how do you avoid catching a cold or a cough or even COVID-19?
All right. Unfortunately, there is not much one can do apart from maintaining a bit of a social distancing, which is almost impossible in a local train. Okay. So the only two things that you can do is, of course, mask up well, and of course, sanitize your hands as much as possible. Try as minimal surface interaction as possible. Touch as minimal surfaces as possible. After touching surfaces, after you come back home, of course, follow the routine protocols of washing your hands, etc. Apart from that, there's really not much one can do. However, when it comes to beaches or when it comes to going in a public pool or something, ideally check yourself whether you have any symptoms or signs, because if you do, reach a beach and then you enter the water there, if you have it, your droplets may pass on into the water and infect someone else as well. So I think, of course, you can't wear a mask and get into the beach, but however, make sure that you take care of your own self. If you do have symptoms and signs, avoid the beaches. And if you do not have symptoms and signs, of course, you can wear your masks and go ahead, take a little swim and come back. And if you've done a recent RT-PCR test, even better. However, right now we are taking baby steps towards normalcy. The cases are barely there. So yes, take baby steps, go for a swim, go to the beach, use the local trains. Just be careful and follow these simple basics rules. There's really not much one can do apart from these.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was it. That was really informative, Dr. Chandra. Thank you so much for your time.